What moment lately has made you hate people? I've worked customer service for a long while, so I was under the assumption that I developed a thick enough skin and nothing could ruin my day. Then I had a lady cuss me out while yelling over an expired 50-cent coupon. I've been cussed out several times before and I'm used to being a sounding board for pent-up frustration, but this one got to me for some reason. I just can't fathom caring so little for your fellow man that you're willing to publicly degrade them over less than $1. That and she left in a Lexus. I've reached into my wallet and handed a whole dollar to people like this. And I say things like, hey, if 50 cents means that much to you, here's $1 out of my own pocket. You just need it more than I do. They hate it so much, but they still take it every time. At a birthday party on Saturday night, guy there who I've never met before starts chatting to me. Seems pretty cool and fun. Spends the entire night with me as basically my shadow. Offers to walk me home. I declined. And then kisses me before I leave. Next morning I have a friend request from him on Facebook where it clearly displays his wife. Poor woman. People really can be outrageous buttholes. For real, I hate that crap. There's a guy I know is married and I have clearly told him that I'm not interested because he is married and he just won't stop trying to seduce me. Funny videos of kids messing with their teacher, when in reality they're just complete buttholes who are humiliating another human for views. Or the teenagers who go into a store and absolutely destroy it in the name of views. They think it's funny, but in reality it's disrespectful and destructive and probably a crime. I think everybody who works customer service knows this kind of customer. The customer that wants to take their displeasure about the company's rules out on you. I work as a waitress and the other day I had this lady complain about the portion size for our mac and cheese. She asked me if I felt like the portion size was enough for an adult. I thought it was, but I didn't tell her that. Instead I offered to bring her a second side of it free of charge. She cut me off and said no. If you think this is an acceptable portion size for an adult then I will eat it. She spent the entire rest of the meal visibly upset and giving me really curt one-word answers every time I checked on her. When I asked her if everything was alright she would say things like I guess or sure. I offered her the extra side of mac and cheese again but she still didn't want it. I later dropped the check and she left cash on the table, looked at me smugly, and walked out. When I went to the table to pick up the cash this bee made sure to pay exact cash right down to the cents and wrote nope in the tip box on the receipt. She wanted to make sure I didn't even make so much as a cent from her. Woman, I have absolutely no control over the dang portion sizes. WTF. People seem to be getting worse at driving every day. I had someone stop completely for no good reason on an on-ramp the other day. Almost caused a huge accident. When driving I assume everyone is a moron. It's the safest way to drive. We had a huge snowstorm the other day. After it was over and the roads were plowed, it was still a mess outside. A lot of the roads were still icy. I was walking to the train station and I had to cross a road, but some guy wanted to take a left turn while I was on the crosswalk. He pulled his car uncomfortably close while I penguin walked slowly as not to fall. That sucker honked at me. My heart rate was through the roof for like an hour. I almost fell down. His car was like a foot from me and he honked. I live in a place where foot traffic is common, so people tend to yield to pedestrians, even entitled buttholes like me, who run when the light is yellow. I went to Florida, and people were just zooming along, sometimes even texting. A politician tweeting that unused electricity gets used up by wind turbines and as a result produces more wind. I still can't believe how somebody could be this special and still have some kind of political career. That's almost as bad as the dude that was saying we'll flip Guam if there's too many people on it. I was walking my dog around the neighborhood the other day and 4 off-leash chihuahuas came running up to her barking. This isn't even the first time that's happened with these little yappy suckers. The owners are always in the house, nowhere in sight. She is not friendly with other dogs and will bite when they run up on her like that. I freaking hate these people who think it's okay to let their dogs run around off leash. The dogs clearly don't know boundaries and one of them is going to get hurt if they keep it up. This is one of my biggest fears. My dog is well trained and generally gives zero fricks about other dogs but big enough that any fight with a small, aggressive dog like that would be over very quick. And then they would try to make it out to be your fault because your dog is the big one. I was walking by myself to a restaurant to pick up some sushi, and I happened to be wearing a shirt of the college I went to. I walked by some guy and his girlfriend, and the guy goes, "Hey man." I respond with, "Hey, what's up?" He then yells F, name of college I went to. It wasn't a huge deal, but it just annoyed me that he felt the need to talk smack to a random dude walking by. I'm not even a die-hard fan of my college or anything. I was just wearing the shirt. I was at one of the local sports bars by my place. It absolutely isn't affiliated with any particular team besides playing the home team games with audio. Tampa Bucks. I had my Colts jersey on and just was drinking at the bar. Dude tried to get me to fight him over my stool. This is Jets territory. It just isn't. To be honest, the most recent one was the college scandal. It really bothered me. I had to pay for my own college and had loans. And I worked my butt off going to school and working full time. And these people are just buying their kids in, and some of the kids make comments about how much they hate being there. I'm kind of surprised people didn't already know that. To be fair, I didn't know for sure, but celebrity children are freaking idiots. I just assumed that they bribed the college to let their dumbass kid go there. At the restaurant I work at, another server and I are put on a party of 30 on a busy Friday night. They're screaming across the table the whole time. Half of them wanted to change their orders after we already rang them in. A couple started dancing on top of the tables, and when told to get down told everyone to frick off. When security came they started screaming more on how they were spending so much money here. Security actually let them stay, and later a fight broke out amongst the table and punches were thrown. Their bill was $873.65, and the best kicker is that my restaurant doesn't do automatic gratuities on large parties, so they left a total of $900. Keep in mind I have to tip out bussers, bartenders, and on busy nights food runners. I actually lost money taking care of these horrible people because our security and my management suck. My restaurant doesn't do automatic gratuities on large parties. This is absolutely negligent. Rising drug prices. When you have people who need a specific drug to live, like insulin for diabetics, and the costs have gone through the roof, for no other reason than greed, it makes me wonder how the owners of these drug companies and politicians who allow it to happen can sleep at night. Realizing that 10% of cars in my neighborhood drive at night with their high beams on all the time because one headlight is out. Fix your dang low beams, people. It could be the new lights. A lot of the brand new cars have freaking blinding regular beams. I flashed my high beams at this Lexus and then they flashed them back. The regular beams were 10x brighter than my '08 Dodge high beams. Walking to a more distant bus stop and leaving earlier to get to work because Creepy McCreeperson takes the same bus I do. Dang, with a name like that they are really living up to expectation. I just don't like dealing with people after work. That's the introvert in me. Nothing against what I do. I've just had enough. The increasing amount of people crossing the road a couple of meters away from a traffic light. My mom almost knocked down a girl walking to school today who just did not look before crossing the road right after a blind corner. My mom beeped loudly and had to slam on the brakes and she barely glanced at us. Yet my mom would be the bad person if she was knocked down. That's why you invest in a dashcam. It's cheap extra insurance. Boyfriend I thought was maybe cheating on me has been cheating on me for months and telling me it was all in my head. I should have dropped him there, but I was dumb and didn't. We decided if he blocked her on everything and worked forward and made it justice and communicate openly it'll work, and I wanted to help him with his novelty issues. Unbeknownst to me he unblocked her the next day and told her that he dumped me so they could get into a relationship. He also knew that one of his best friends had a thing for that other girl. He openly confided in my ex for advice and he led him on and continued his behaviors. Oh yeah, also the other girl knew he had a girlfriend but she didn't care. I love people right now. If he cheats with you, he'll cheat on you. She'll learn. Seeing a man smack his dog's head off a wall because it wanted to stop and sniff some grass. I would have intervened, but a woman already stopped him and called police for cruelty. I hate seeing people smack or drag their dogs while the poor things want to sniff things on a walk. Poor things just want to enjoy the world around them. One of my 21-year-old co-workers. She regularly complains that people with shaved heads are lazy and need to get a real haircut and start doing their hair. I'm sorry Karen, not all of us have 3 hours in the morning to do our hair, and it takes me only 20 minutes per week to shave my head. 2 of the 4 men with shaved heads are already bald. One of them has a very young son to worry about, and the last thing he needs is hair. And the 4th already looks like a cave troll and doesn't need hair, making him look like an orc. Leave the shaved head crew alone and let us be lazy. I'm heavily pregnant. Finished work last week and decided on my lunch break to take a walk down the mall and enjoy the sunshine. It's been a high risk and stressful pregnancy, and I was feeling overwhelmed with handing everything over at work earlier than I had planned. So I went out to clear my head and bought myself a nice juice as a treat and took a stroll. Waddle. It was pretty busy, and as I was walking one way, a youngish group, early 20s, were walking toward me. I did that thing where you move slightly out of the way so everyone can easily pass each other. One of the guys in the group deliberately did the opposite, moved into my space, locked his shoulder into place and bumped into me with his shoulder, with enough force that I stumbled pretty badly, then kept walking. One of the girls in the group turned around and looked me up and down. It was horrible. I nearly cried. It seems that cheating in relationships is becoming normalized and has even less repercussions to the person cheating. It's a simple concept that if you aren't willing to be monogamous, then don't get into a monogamous relationship. It's so easy to leave someone in the dust for your own personal gain in today's society that it makes me furious to think about. I have a good friend, now crush, that I'm very close with. Since I started doing more stuff with her, some of my friends started following along and became friends with her too. Now I'm no jealous guy, but ever since I sort of introduced her to my group of friends, these 2 guys in our group have become the biggest white knights in the world. Everything she does, they do. She makes a point in an argument, they'll agree, etc. It's gotten to a point where I had a small fight with her about something I said in the past. No big deal. The thing is, these 2 guys I literally considered friends started lying and chatting behind my back, which I found out about later. This was all done to score bonus points with a girl. I still see them and still consider them friends even after confronting them with it. However, I can't say it will always be the same. Literally talking behind someone's back and denouncing me just for some bonus points with a girl honestly hurt me. It felt like a huge backstab for sure, and it just reminded me that people can still be buttholes, so you need to watch out who you trust. Just tell her how you feel, man. I'm not kidding. Text her right now and ask what she's up to Friday night. Whenever I see journalists and photographers surround the grieving with no regards to their emotional and physical state and well-being, why there's nothing in place to disallow this, I don't know. Take commercial air crashes for example, where families who are up to their heads with the sensory overload that they're experiencing and only made more isolated by having tens to hundreds of people surrounding for a picture whilst they're weak, need on the floor against the wall against each other. Documenting the event is important, but there are greater distances and the right tools for the job. Being a tool does not help that statement. Political rhetoric has become childish and divisive. There is less substance than ever before, as well as disturbing trend toward overlooking practical realities. And the news coverage is absolutely inane. They are far more concerned with wondering if Joe Biden will enter the 2020 presidential race than with actually talking about issues. I guess the dating culture right now is just so toxic to me, just based on hookups and cheap thrills instead of genuine emotion or experiences. I don't hate people, but watching the notion of empathy and compassion die a slow death at the hands of people who use others as a means to an end is depressing. I hear about other people's experiences with dating right now, and it makes me glad I'm happily married. You have my sympathy. Not all people, but older people. I constantly see senior citizens being mean and rude to cashiers, servers and so on. I can't stand it. Most of the time these workers are younger and this is their first jobs. Be nice and patient, please. I don't know if it's hate so much as disappointment, but when did we stop holding people accountable for their actions, especially when it affects others? It's crazy what some people can do without conscience or consequence. Oh my god, yes. I called out a student because of a lack of accountability. They went to the provost and filed a complaint. Now I was vindicated. But I mean, just own up to your own crap. It makes everyone appreciate you more, and it's a way for everyone to grow and improve. Own it, apologize, improve. Every once in a while pizza will magically appear in the work kitchen. Repeatedly, whoever takes the last slice just leaves the box on the counter, getting my hopes up incredibly high when I turn the corner only to crash lower than ever when I open the box. Throw the fricking thing away, you animals. We have basically entered an era where you have to be the best at everything and more so become an elitist. Enjoy gaming? Your KD better be all that. You like longboarding? Get a real board. That's just the sort of attitude I seem to come across all the time. Just shut up and let me enjoy my crap. Every time I have to explain basic computer skills to people whose job involves sitting in front of a computer 8 hours a day, like, your job literally depends on this tool, and you will fully know nothing about it. People are so mentally lazy it makes me want to vomit. How have they survived to adulthood while apparently having no critical thinking or problem solving skills at all? This world is too soft on the stupid. It's not just with computers. Honestly, if it took skill and intellect to be born, this world would not have too many people. This may be dumb and I totally don't expect people to reciprocate, but when my toddler waves or says hi to people, they give him dirty looks. I understand because I don't like kids either, but he's been in speech and never talked, so he's excited to communicate with people. All he can say is hi, IDK. It happens like 80% of the time. People like that are the worst. I always say hi to a kid if they say it first. If I just make eye contact with a tiny human, I either smile or make a silly face. I'm not a huge fan of kids, but I'm not gonna be an butt. People who don't fricking listen when you repeatedly tell them something. My boss has continually asked me for a very specific paper that we signed in 2017. I don't have it, nor do I even have access to it. His boss's secretary has it on file and we haven't seen it since we handed it in. Anything we sign for his boss, I don't keep, since it's for their records, not ours. He didn't say, call the district office and get it. No, he asked me for it, assuming that I had it. I only have the copies with the numbers, not the signatures. I keep detailed and full records of everything, but I can't just make things appear out of thin air. Don't know if this counts as lately, but online dating. The last 1.5 years has been insufferable, yet I haven't found a better alternative. The worst thing lately is how everything has become one extreme or the other. There are no in between on the public forums anymore. Either you are with us and whatever you do is perfect, or you are against us and everything you do is terrible. There can't be anyone trying to be in the middle, having ideas from both sides of the discussion on any point. Everything has to be on the extreme. You can't have a debate. You cannot have an article with a train of thought throughout. It's all in the title or bust. People don't want to think about the other person sitting next to them, or they want to include everyone in the discussion, even when it's not the sound way of doing things. There is no more middle ground, and American politics has exacerbated this point even more. I am not American and we see the right versus left all the time here, even though it doesn't work like that. People in the public industry, schools, govt, public services, haven't caught up to that and haven't changed their method of marketing and their way of communicating with the younger generations, and it shows in every possible ways. To me, this is a worrying trend and it makes me hate individuals for their extreme opinions, which never happened to me earlier in life. There would always be a common ground between us somewhere. Now it's all with me or against me. That crap makes me furious sometime. In science class we were discussing the use of living creatures and ethics boards. One kid started fighting against ethics boards because mice aren't human. They don't deserve rights. This is the same kid that calls Jews pigs, is abusive, and generally a disgusting waste of perfectly good organs. When traffic is backed up through an intersection, and someone, instead of waiting until there's an open spot, decides to move forward up to the car in front of them, meaning they're now stopped and sitting in the middle of the intersection. This means that when their light cycle ends, and it goes green for the other direction, they're now blocking traffic. It's an absolutely selfish and idiotic move, because they're literally gaining nothing by moving forwards. The traffic wasn't going to move anyway, so they've gained nothing. All they did was further back up traffic in the other direction. The last time this happened to me, which was a week or so ago, I must have laid on my horn for about 45 seconds. I really wanted the person to remember that day. I read about a group of children beating a small animal to death. I just think we're a completely disgusting species altogether. People love to talk about saving the planet, but no one wants to think about the possibility that the planet simply needs to be saved from us. Some suckers followed me home and stole my wheels at 3 a.m. in the morning on my 2-month-old car. I ended up paying $1,000 for deductible and the dealer scratched up my car when I got it back. I also found out today that they filled my left tires at 46C while the right one's at 38 and the recommended is 33. A woman in Kelowna stole this man's golden retriever right out of its yard. The man had had this dog since it was a puppy. Then they get a call from a man saying he has the dog but will only give it back if he gets the $5,000 reward. Luckily police managed to get to the dog and it's been returned to its owner, but goddang people, as a dog owner you never mess with someone's fluffy babies. I'm so glad that story had a happy ending. That woman is a total puss for doing that. It was 2 days ago when the college entrance cheating scandal broke. How much was I and others fricked from being looked over because we were poor back in high school. Unfortunately, the US is getting increasingly paid to play. This will probably get buried, but I got rear-ended by a lady last Friday, and even though the police issued her a citation and there is a police report, she is telling her insurance that she has no idea what accident they are talking about. Unfortunately, I was so caught up in calling the police and giving them all of my information and making sure they were recording her information for me that I have no photos of her at the scene. She also immediately left after speaking to the police. Looking back, I had plenty of time to get the photo evidence I needed to place her at the scene, but with all the adrenaline of the moment I just was not thinking clearly. How can people be so crappy to try to do that to somebody else? People who clip their nails in the office. It's disgusting. 2 people where I work always do it, and it's always gross. I hate the sound. Then they chew and crunch loud. Think the sound a dog makes when you toss him a biscuit. I kid you not, exactly like that. I hate gross rude people. I just opened a drive-through restaurant. I've worked for a little over 20 years in a variety of restaurants, both front and back of house, and you quickly realize that people are terrible. Working in a drive-thru is unbelievable. Dropping the check to less than $10 and putting a speaker between you and the guest opens your eyes to what the world is truly made up of. Lately I'm pretty sure it started when I was 1 year old. That time my dad yelled at me for drawing on my toys with a marker. And before you say you can't possibly remember that, I remember my mom singing to me while I was in the crib. She was light enough to fit in it and she confirmed this. But I have autism, so my brain works weird anyway. People cutting me off when I'm trying to speak even though I'm willing to listen them blabber about their mind-numbingly boring lives. Classmate mentions James Charles, math teacher, who doesn't know him by name but saw a pic of him. Goes on to preach about how gays are abominations, how nature demands that only a man and a woman should be together, how God made a man and a woman, and not 2 men, and how he'd kill his son if he found out he was gay. Really disgusted, to be honest. Wasn't expecting that from him. I was actually looking up to him up until that moment. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.